And so I wanted to touch on some of the things he said, because I think Paul's response to this really sums up what's wrong with our country and just people in general. And it's this hypersensitivity. It's this complete lack of like a normal, rational person to have like steps building up to freaking out that bad about something. It's Paul just pole vaults right the fuck over all those steps and has a complete meltdown over body scanners and things such as that. So, and it's not that those things don't warrant, you know, being discussed or even getting upset about or screaming for them to be changed, but to say you're ashamed to be an American, that's such a huge, massive thing to say, and I don't really think Paul comprehends what it is exactly that came out of his mouth. So I'm going to touch on it. So
all right, so guys, this is Beyond the Pale. He made a video response directed at me. I'll link his video down here if you want to go watch it in full. Beyond the Pale is making a point for me, I feel like. So he goes on to say that Paul just has a meltdown and he's getting angry and he's got this complete lack of rational response, and then you kind of backpedal a little bit. You say, well, it's not because these things aren't, you know, anger isn't warranted. It's not because these things aren't egregious enough that people should be angry about them. It's that Paul goes one step beyond the imaginary line that I've drawn in the sand and says that he's ashamed to be American. Paul has the audacity to be honest about the way he feels about being an American, being a child that grew up with all the flag-waving, patriotic, proud to be an American bullshit that I grew up with, and then being an adult and realizing that America doesn't live up to a tenth of the promise I was told it had. Okay? I've somehow crossed a line by being honest about how I feel. And this is exactly the point. What makes you think that you're the guy that gets to draw the line in the sand? Why is that one step too far? Okay, why do you get to fucking hold your staff aloft and say, "You shall not pass"? Okay, you're not Gandalf, okay? I'm not the Balrog. We're not standing on the bridge of Khazad-dûm. Okay, you don't get to fucking tell me where the line in the sand is. How have I crossed any line by being honest about the way that I feel? You said yourself that it's okay to be emotional about these things after you said it wasn't. Okay? He has no rationality. He can't be calm. He can't be measured. Not that it's not okay to be angry about these things, but don't take that anger so far as to be completely honest about how you feel about your country, because then you've crossed beyond the pale's imaginary line. I don't fucking get it. Like, this video is schizophrenic. This video is so fucking schizophrenic. I don't know what position you're taking at any given moment. Let's hear some more.
As for people not being brave, what a douchebag. What a generalized, massive generalization of everyone in our country to say we're all cowards. You know, if you were to say this about anybody else or any other country, you would be fucking screamed at off the internet regardless of how right you were. You don't generalize an entire group of people because you fucking feel entitled to because you're pissed off over a political viewpoint. What a dick thing to say. And add on the fact that it's not true. It's not even close to true. You know, there's so many people in our country that do so many selfless, brave things. I mean, you know, from cops to firefighters and paramedics to hospice workers and people who work at abortion clinics. And there's a lot of things. And this is jobs. What about, you know, there's volunteers that go out into the ghetto and to homeless people and people who are fucking hooked on heroin that want to stab you as soon as look at you, and they go help these people. And to say everybody here, every single person here is a coward is just such an offensive thing. And Paul really doesn't care that if he's right or wrong. It's just he's trying to elicit a response from people. And I guess, you know, maybe I'm feeding into him by doing this and giving him a response. But nonetheless.
Okay, so let's talk about getting a response from people real quick. I want to point something out about your video, something that I found a little bit weird. Your video is called paulsego. And yet your video was made as a video response to the Amazing Atheists video. You didn't send me so much as a PM to let me know that you'd made this video or that you were interested in hearing what I had to say about it. or just to let me know that you wanted your opinion to be heard on this. I don't remember seeing any comments from you on my last video saying, hey, Paul, I made this video. You made no effort to contact me and let me know you made this video that bore my namesake. You chose, instead of making it a video response to one of the 2 videos I've made on this subject, you chose to make it a video response to The Amazing Atheist, which is fine. I understand why you would make that choice. You made that choice to get a response from people. Because The Amazing Atheist videos get more views than mine do. And it's working out great for you. Your video's been up a little over a day now, and you've gotten 47 views for a video that probably wouldn't have ever been seen. But this whole idea that trying to elicit a response from people is a bad thing, coming from a guy that makes a video directed at somebody and doesn't even tell them that he made it, and uploads that video instead to a video that, let's be honest, you're talking about me in this video, not TJ. You mentioned TJ in passing, so you upload it to an unrelated video hoping to elicit a response from people. So let's talk about you being offended, you being deeply fucking offended. And let's talk about my calling everybody in America a coward. Now, I'm sure you remember, because you mentioned it at the beginning of this video, me saying, please don't mention the troops. Don't co-opt the fucking troops to continue to make excuses for this country. I guess maybe I should have been more kindergarten with this shit and led you by the hand a little better and said, don't mention the troops, don't mention the police, or the firefighters, or the EMTs, or the abortion clinic workers, or the people that volunteer in the ghetto, helping heroin heads that would rather stab you than look at you. Because those people are the vast minority. When you walk around in this country, do you think your average Joe Smo is a firefighter, is a troop, is a person that lays down their life on a daily basis to protect others? Okay? Those are the people I was talking about. Those are the cowards. The majority in this country are cowards. That's why I ask people not to co-opt the fucking troops. That's why I asked people not to use the troops, and probably should have asked people not to use the firefighters, and use the policemen, and use the 9/11 first responders to continue to put up a barrier that people can't cross when it comes to offering critique of this country. Maybe I should have just really written it out, but you know what? I was pissed. And when you're pissed, you sometimes forget. But I don't think it's going beyond the pale to make a bad pun. To think that an adult like yourself would have the wherewithal to look at the video and read between the lines and see that I wasn't talking about every last soul in this country, but I was talking about the vast majority of people in this country who will never be forced with a situation where they have to lay their life on the line for another person, who will never volunteer their time doing anything that even approaches dangerous. Argue with me about that. Okay, but don't sit there and say that I said something I didn't say. Okay? That's what being offended is all about. I deal with people a lot. In my line of work and the lines of work that I've held, in the past, I always deal with people. And one thing that I've learned dealing with people is typically the first person to get offended, to throw his hands up in the air and say, "Oh, sir, that's offensive." Those are usually the stupidest people. Usually the dumb people are the first people to raise their hand and say, "I am offended by what you've said, sir." People that don't take time to watch the video. People that don't take time to watch what I said, to listen to what I said, and actually make a rebuttal to that. They hit a brick wall and they say, "Oh, Paul's gone too far. He stepped across my imaginary line again. Did you hear that? He called everybody a coward." Okay? Take a 10-second break from being hyper offended by everybody that ever critiques this country, and listen to what they have to say. It might do you some good. I got one last clip, and then I'm gonna be done with this.
Paul mentions that he's ashamed to be an American, and I'll tell you, Paul, that I think that most people that saw your video or watched your video would agree that you should be ashamed to be an American. Well,
I agree with you there, kinda. I agree that if most people in this country saw my video, they would be ashamed that I was an American, and that's the point. That's the point that I was talking about. If most people in this country saw that video, they're not going to make it past the part where I say that I'm ashamed to be an American. Because they're too busy waving the fucking flag and looking for excuses to make for this fucking country not living up to its potential, not living up to its promise. Okay? They're too busy looking to make an excuse for this country to listen to somebody say something that they consider to be unpopular or offensive. Just like you.
And, I don't think that's going to affect you at all, because you seem like the type of person it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter to you how many people tell you, man. I mean, that this is fucked up, you're still going to see them as beneath you, and they're wrong, and they're stupid, and you've got the overview, and you've got the clear picture, and nothing else matters. And no matter how arrogant it is to think that way, I mean, it's not going to stop you. You even mention it yourself that everyone's stupid, Paul.
Okay, so let's talk about this. If you actually go back, maybe after you see this video response, you'll do it. Probably not. Go back and watch both of the videos I've made on this subject. You'll see that I was incredibly self-critical. Okay, at the end of both of the videos, I talk about how I struggled with making this fucking video for so long because I feel like I'm just another part of the problem. I feel like I'm just a fat, lazy asshole with a webcam spewing venom out into the internet, not doing anything about it. I was incredibly self-critical. So for you to sit there and say that this video belies some overinflated self-importance on my part when I spend a good chunk of the video ripping on myself, even going so far in my last video to agree with people who say that I'm just another fat, lazy fucking American. I don't feel like I do enough. And that's the problem. Had you gotten that far, maybe this little comment wouldn't be necessary for me to fucking respond to. Okay, but you don't. You're too busy being offended. You're too busy hitting that patriotic Stars and Stripes brick wall where somebody said something offensive about America, so now it's time to shout them down. Now it's time to take everything that they've said up until this point out of context and discount it. Because I don't like what you said about my country. Love it or leave it. You don't like it, Paul, get the fuck out. You know how many of those comments I got on those videos? That's the problem. That's what I'm talking about. People that are afraid to listen. Afraid to fucking listen. So afraid to listen that when they hit that brick wall, they hit that imaginary line of sand, their brain just fucking shuts down, and they go back to their empty little life, and they don't ever think about this. Two weeks from now, they're not even going to remember they saw the fucking shit. That's the problem.
And you've got TJ, who's kind of critiquing your video. And TJ, I'm a pretty left-wing guy, and TJ's a lot more left-wing than I am. And he's even fucking kind of criticizing you and, saying, well, look at all the progress we've made. And, yeah, progress takes time. And this is not something that could have escaped you. I mean, if you put any thought to this at all, there's no way you couldn't look at our country and go, man, this is the hub of enlightenment in the world and has been for a long time now. And yeah, we're not perfect. Yeah, we got a lot of shit we got to change. But comparatively to what we were, let alone what everybody else is, we've got it pretty fucking good, man. And you downplay that. You can't downplay that. I mean, they're fucking murdering people left and right, fucking everywhere else, just barbarically slaughtering people and raping people and torturing people everywhere else, and to go to mention that and say, well, yeah, it could be worse to be there, and then talk shit about a place that isn't there, that's so much better than there, is beyond me, and I'll never...
Well, you're right, it's beyond you. You're absolutely right, it's beyond you. I fucking totally agree with you there. It is utterly beyond you to see why I, as an American, would ever think of criticizing his own country when there are shittier shitholes out there. This whole idea that there are places that are worse than America, ergo America gets a pass. I shouldn't be criticizing America. I shouldn't be ashamed when I drive by a food bank and see mothers lined up around the fucking corner to get little boxes of canned food so that they can feed their kids something for a holiday meal here in the land of the Big Mac. Okay, I shouldn't be ashamed of that. I shouldn't be ashamed that there are people starving in the fucking streets, that there are people that are going to sleep under a bridge tonight, that there are kids who are just getting fucking lost in the shuffle. I shouldn't be ashamed of that fact. And you talk about these places that rape and murder and torture people. Do you really think that America's hands are clean when it comes to rape and murder and torture? Does America get a pass on rape and murder and torture because it doesn't happen quite as often here as it does somewhere else? Because we happen to be perpetrating those things in other countries? I've said all I have to say. This is the problem, okay? You're the person I was talking about. You're the person with the artificial barriers. You're the person that's not even willing to listen, that doesn't have the courage to criticize his country, that spends his entire life quaking with fear, looking desperately around for excuses to make for this fucking place. I, at the very least, and this is the smallest bit you're going to hear me talk myself up. I, at the very least, have the balls and wherewithal to look around and see what's going on in this country and call it like it is. And not allow the flag to be waved in my face. And not allow people to continue to spew forth these conversation stoppers like, love it or leave it, or it could be worse. I want to see America fulfill more of its potential. I want America to be a place I can be proud of. And I don't know how to do that. The difference between you and me is, you don't think that we need to do that. You think that America is already a place that you should be proud of. I don't. And until it is, I'm not going to pretend that I am. Till next time, everybody. Peace.